Good morning. Welcome everybody to the webinar series Understanding the New Charter of Aged Care Rights. This is brought to you today by the Older Persons Advocacy Network. I appreciate your time and participation. My name is Marie Montgomery. I shall be your facilitator today and throughout the webinar and community events. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Gadigal people from the Eora Nation, on which we are meeting here today. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to elders from other communities who may be joining us here today. I'd like to welcome our amazing panel this morning. Hello everybody.
Morning.
Good morning. So we have Maria Berry, Craig Gear and Sharon McIlwain. Morning. Welcome. Thank you. Could you all a little discussion about yourselves and why you're so passionate about aged care?
Sharon, you go.
Okay, so I'm Sharon McIlwain, Principal Advisor for Residential Aged Care for Leading Age Services Australia, and I've been working in the aged care industry now for about 25 years, which has gone by so quickly, and I love it every single day. You know, I spent 12 years as a provider after a number of years, you know, actually working on the floor, and every day is a privilege to make a difference to someone's life, to learn about somebody's life, you know, and to learn about the people who actually brought us to where we are today as a nation. If I could, the other day I happened to meet a lady who was 103, and we had a wonderful conversation about washing machines. And, you know, which seems really bizarre, but it was, you know, these are stories that we mustn't lose.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
you know, and she talked about her mangle, which...
A mangle,
which is a copper.
Oh,
yeah. You know, but these are stories that we mustn't lose. And, you know, just because somebody's receiving care, be it at home, be it in a service, doesn't mean that they can be forgotten.
They don't lose that.
No, it's just such a privilege every day.
Absolutely.
Well, my name's Craig Gear. I'm the CEO of the Older Persons Advocacy Network, and if for people who don't know about aged care advocacy, the government funds independent free advice for older people to support them to raise their voice. And our 9 member organisations have been doing aged care advocacy for about 25 years. So what brings the passion for me is, having come from a background in health, I know it's really important for people to be able to have their voice and to actually be able to, I suppose, raise their concerns and actually ask questions. And sometimes that's really scary to do, and I think this is great today to talk about a Charter of Rights which actually shows you that you can raise your voice, you can still speak up. It's important.
Yeah, thanks Craig. Maria?
Hi, I'm Maria Berry, and my experience has been 30 years of working with older people professionally and in the community as well. I've had the lived experience of being a navigator of the system, caring for both older people, older ageing parents, I should say. And I'm here today to be a voice and to work with organisations like Open to participate and create some change and bring forward the conversations that we need to have into our future. So thank you.
Wow. Amazing experience and dynamic panel. Thank you for being here with us today. I'd like to acknowledge also the expertise and experience within our web audience today. We have a very large web audience, and again, we just love your participation. There is an opportunity for Q&A. Please join us. Please have a voice and join the panel. And if you'll find up in the right hand corner a little chat toggle, please just pop onto that. We will get sent the chat and the question, and pick it up and try and answer it here at any time. Just to cover the briefing today, we're going to be looking at key changes to the Charter and the benefits of change, what it means for organisations and their workforce, timelines and implementation of the new Charter, 1st July, the Charter signing responsibilities, consumer responsibilities as well, as we roll the 4 charters into one, what organisations are doing to get ready, and also wonderful resources that Open is putting together to support everyone in this endeavour. Okay, so, pardon me, I've lost my chart. All righty.
Okay.
We're live.
We're real.
Hello, everyone.
We're real.
All right, so as we are aware, on the 1st of July in 2019, the Australian Government is introducing the new and simpler Charter of Aged Care Rights. This will replace the current charters and responsibilities. So I guess, Craig, to you first and foremost, what is the new Charter of Aged Care Rights and why is OPAN involved?
Yeah, so the charter, I suppose, it brings the 4 charters that were there before as the aged care standards have been rolled into a single charter of standards. Mm-hmm. It's been important to make sure that there's a single charter of rights and rights, so that there's an understanding of why, I suppose, people's protections under this as well. And protections and standing up for people's rights is something that OPAN's advocates have been doing across the 9 organisations that deliver aged care advocacy. They've been doing this for the 25 years, as I was saying. So it's natural for our advocates to be using this as part of the discussions they have with older people to help walk alongside them, to give them, the older person themselves, a tool to say, this is what I expect from you, aged care provider, and to, I suppose, start those conversations about what their expectations are.
Yeah, I think too, Craig, the single charter helps people navigate across the different types of care they can receive without the confusion of going, I fall under a different charter of rights and responsibilities now. Yep. So that single charter has really streamlined that.
Yes.
Yep. For providers.
So what sort of impact will the new charter have for LASA and your members?
Look, it's a fact. Okay.
Yes.
Legislation.
It's coming in.
It's coming. It's a fact. 1st of July. 1st of July is going to be a very, very big day in the aged care sector.
Yes.
There's an awful lot of things happening. For LASA members, there will be a lot of obviously contracts, residential aged care agreements, home care agreements will have to be revisited because the current Charter of Rights and Responsibilities in residential aged care does actually sit behind or within a contract as an addendum or an annexure. So, all of those contracts will have to be changed to reflect on the 1st of July, the new Charter of Aged Care Rights. And the consumer or the consumer's representative, the care recipient, whichever language you're using within your service, must be given a copy of the Charter of Aged Care Rights and an opportunity to sign that.
Yep.
And providers... Providers need to...
Sorry, just pause for a moment. Oh, good, thank you.
Okay, providers actually need to make sure that they're giving the care recipient a copy of the new Charter of Aged Care Rights that is signed by the provider, but also that it will still sit within the residential or the home care agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
and I know we'll talk about it later, but it is available in I think it's 18 languages now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that will make it a lot easier for providers of cultural and
Absolutely. Linguistic. Yeah. So Maria, as your role as the consumer representative, why do you feel or see that the Charter is important?
Again, what Craig and Sharon have both said today, it's about navigating the system, which is really important. You'll find that consumers are transferring from one particular section to another particular section as they grow older, from community care to residential care. So the importance of having it under one umbrella, it also makes it easier for organisations and representatives and management that are trying to put this forward to their consumers, and for carers as well. It's a huge issue trying to navigate, but having it under one umbrella, it just makes it the same, so it makes it easy.
I think if I can just add to that too, we're now seeing a real continuity of care, and a lot of providers are providing both home care and residential care. And that's the reason why we've got one set of quality aged care standards now, is that providers are just going with every type of care that's available.
Streamlining
care, residential care, home care, retirement living. Even though retirement living doesn't fall under the Charter of Rights, if someone's receiving home care in that service,
and I think that's also important that your rights don't change. Like it's not as if suddenly you're in a building and suddenly those rights don't apply, or or you're in your own home. So
Yes.
I think what this does is actually put on one simple page in simple language to actually say, this follows you wherever you go. You've got other rights under consumer law, all those sorts of things, but this is what it's about in aged care.
Yes.
Nicely put. Thanks, Craig. Yeah. Okay, and as you did suggest, it is busy in July, 1st July. So the new aged care quality standards are also being released.
Yeah.
How do they align, and I know we've spoken briefly about them, but how do they align and provide an absolute, I guess, coverage of making sure this is the right care for you and that you have a voice?
So if we look at number 1 on the new Charter of Aged Care Rights, which talks to high quality, safe care and services.
That's right.
You know, that's first and foremost. So the new aged care quality standards, they refer to all the way through the whole documentation and the guidance material and the way that people are working with consumers to delivering high quality care. Like that is actually a baseline that we're now seeing in the aged care quality standards. But that baseline is high quality, safe care for consumers.
Excellent. And Craig, do you want to?
My favour, you'd expect probably from an advocacy organisation,
Yes.
is about promoting people's voice and empowering older people to advocate for themselves. Number 11 for me is a favourite, which is really about this sort of advocacy and having someone to walk alongside you, whoever that might be. That might be a family member. And we actually fought quite hard to actually have an advocate written into there as well, because the assumption could have been that it was only your wife or husband that could have spoken with you, but this now explicitly says that you can choose that person. That can be one of our free independent advocates, but it also might be another friend or family that wants to walk alongside you as well. That's really important to have someone there to support you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That support is essential.
Yeah.
Craig, you and I were talking before, and Maria, we were talking about, you know, actually knowing what somebody wants as part of their care journey is about asking them. You know, we're actually moving from a place of just assuming that that's what somebody wants to actually saying, you know, well, what do you want? What does your care look like? What does your life look like moving forward? You know, because just because somebody's receiving care doesn't mean that they no longer have goals or aspirations or things that they want to achieve on a daily basis. And unless we actually ask that question and empower the consumer, the care recipient to actually speak up for themselves, as Craig was saying, we won't be moving forward as a sector.
That must have been important for you, Maria, with your family, was it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, and this is with no disrespect to any organisation or person involved, but it has been very much tick the box, you know, time poor and tick the box, and it hasn't been about listening to the person. So I think this is crucial, and very important.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
I suppose for me, that's what I get excited about the Charter of Rights, but I do, because I think for us, and particularly at a time when there's this Royal Commission going on, this is about resetting some of that power dynamic and actually people feeling that you can start having a conversation. You can sit down with, as you start to explain these rights to people, and have a conversation with them about what they want.
Yeah,
we get to know what people's expectations are. What a great opportunity.
And it's empowerment too, Craig.
Yeah.
Opening up that conversation is just the first crack of the ice, breaking that connection and building that trust with somebody, and it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one thing that LASA's really speaking for is to actually make sure that the staff who are providing that direct care have a full understanding of the Charter of Aged Care Rights as well. You know, that it's, you know, obviously the consumer needs to understand them, and whoever's going to sign for them in the service needs to understand them. But unless everybody who's delivering care and participating in somebody's life, and that's what it is, it's a partnership when you can no longer do everything for yourself.
Absolutely.
So unless those people who are actually partnering with the care recipient understand the Charter of Rights, we will not be able to move forward quickly.
What a great way to empower staff as well.
Oh, absolutely.
They're important. Those
The
frontline
connection.
staff are really important.
Great
Absolutely.
reflection on their own, you know, work ethic and reflection.
You know, the staff are the most
most important
Most
people
important
people
in
in
the
the
building.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Next to the older person,
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
beside.
absolutely.
Right. Excellent.
Beside, that's
Yeah,
exactly
beside.
it.
Yeah.
So that was your favourite, right? The number 11, Craig, yes? So Maria, what is your favourite ride?
My favourite is number 7 because it's about living well and it's about empowerment. Despite where you might be or where you might feel in your life, you're still alive, you're still a person, you're still living, so you have the opportunity to live your life.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. And we talked about one with yourself, which was number 1, but you had another one, I thought.
I did. I had number 3.
That's right,
which
Sharon.
is about your culture, your diversity. It's actually
Yeah.
about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
And for me, and having worked through all of the new standards, you know, the 4 of us here sitting on the panel, we all have a different life experience and a different life expectation.
Yes.
But unless, you know, as we were just saying, unless we actually ask each other the specific questions, we're not going to know.
Yeah.
But for me, number 3 talks about actually knowing the person, who they are, what their value set is. You know, again, we all have different value sets, you know, regardless of what culture we've grown up in. And, you know, and I think culture for me is really important because it's not just about where you were born or what country you come from. It's about who you are inherently, about who you identify as.
Yes.
And I think it's really important that we embrace people for who they are, and you know, we can't cast judgment. We have to leave that at the door.
Yes.
You don't want to start your living your life and your culture. You have to bring your whole person with
Yes.
you
Yes.
to aged care as well.
Yeah, you can't leave part of it behind.
No.
No, it doesn't just leave at the door.
No.
Beautiful. So, with the Charter, and we've brought it up a couple of times here, there is a signing of the Charter. So, can you extrapolate what is the signing of the Charter? Why is it important, and how will it affect, I guess, your members, but also the consumer?
So the charter must be signed by a member of the organisation, of the approved provider organisation.
It must be.
It must be.
Okay.
That's a legislative requirement. And there's no specification about who from the organisation signs, but I would imagine if I put a provider hat on for 5 minutes, I would imagine that you would have, you know, a certain number of staff who were, you know, fully trained, had a full understanding of the new Charter of Aged Care Rights, and were actually able to deliver it, because, you know, some people actually don't have the capacity to deliver what the intent behind a document. So that's for me really, really important, and it's something that I come across a lot in my role is people actually not knowing what's within at the moment their residential agreement.
Yes.
You know, actually not you know, they've sat there, they've had somebody sign it,
Yes.
but they haven't been able to then articulate what the body of the document is. So I think it's really important that whomever at the service level is signing the document on behalf of the approved provider can articulate and deliver the message as it's intended.
Because I think that's the other part is there's a responsibility on the provider to explain this and explain it in a way that people understand. So it's not just I've told you this, and it may be using our video to show that, but I would hope that was the start of the conversation, not the end of it. And I think that what this is doing is bringing the Charter of Rights, which has sat often as an addendum to a contract and way down there, to bring it up and actually put it front and centre. And I don't think we've necessarily been great at doing that before and saying, this is your protection. So for the consumer, and then the signing for the consumer, that the consumer doesn't have to sign it, they just have to be given the opportunity to sign it. But by doing that, it's actually saying, this is your document, this is your protection, this is about what you can expect from us. And we're going to stand by that and help that be achieved. You know,
and for me, you know, as Maria was saying before, you know, if someone's been in home care, they're already familiar with that document if they're receiving home care services. So it's not a surprise. The document, it's the same. They've got the same rights regardless of where they're living. You know, and it's a pre-admission document. You know, it's something that it's a document that you start talking about the minute someone actually starts to engage with your service.
Yes.
You know, this is who we are. This is who you are at our service. This is your rights.
Okay, great. Now we're getting some Q&A coming through, which is just really great. So I'm not texting here on my phone. I'm getting you guys. I've got a couple of questions here. One's from David. Thank you, David. Thinking about Right 11, Where does this leave an enduring power of attorney if a consumer has nominated someone else prior to losing capacity? Thank you, David. That's a good question.
So I won't say that I'm an expert in
No.
powers of attorney, and the important thing is the powers of attorney do change between states and territories. I think it is important that that person says this is who, and before capacity is lost, who do you want to speak for you and with you? And it shouldn't be, as I said there, for you. It's so easy to drop into the speaking on behalf of. You're speaking with them. So we're really supportive of the idea of and the concept of supported decision making at OPAN, and our ACT members, ADACAS, have been doing some great work in that area around what does supported decision making mean, because it's actually about walking there, and people's capacity can change at different times. So they may, on one thing, want the power of attorney to be there. They might want a friend to be there at certain times. The person has the right, just because that power of attorney is there. And the power of attorney is actually in a really, really privileged position.
Yes.
To be actually another person to protect and be looking after protect. It's not power of attorney over.
No.
It's working with. Yeah. Maria, you've been this with your family. What do you think?
Oh, certainly. And I guess going back to 2 weeks ago, if I can mention this, David, and thank you for your question. And my answer is relevant to my own experience. And I'm in no way an expert either. But participating in a round table with our Minister for Aged Care, Ken Wyatt, his message was that if you're looking at power of attorney, the importance of having more than one person there to do it, just that things can change, situations change, and the lead up and the preparation to that, the importance that we put the message out there to every older person or everyone in any age bracket, that you need to look at planning ahead. So very important.
Get the conversation started.
Absolutely, get the conversation started, and don't be afraid to ask the questions.
You know, and like Craig, I'm no expert on powers of attorney either. But I would agree, Craig, with what you said about capacity. It does vary. You know, just because someone can't make can't sign a mortgage document today doesn't mean that they can't make a cup of tea.
Yes.
So I think it's really important to acknowledge, as you said, that power of attorney is a partnership, and it's about working in the best interest of the consumer, of the care recipient. You know, what is best for that person.
And you know, there's one of the rights that talks about I've got the right to maintain my independence. So it's
Number
actually
9.
it's actually built in there.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. And just one last one from Daryl. Will the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission respect the care recipients' rights to make informed decisions?
Well,
Yes.
everyone looks
Daryl.
at me.
Oh, you are the right. Yeah.
Look, this is a really big question, Daryl, and one I'm glad that you asked. It will be about risk taking moving forward. Will be about informed decision making, and making sure that you've given someone all of the information about what they're going to do. Making sure that you've documented concisely what their decision is. And of course, if someone's making a decision that's going to impact on the rest of the people who are receiving services from you, then you can come up with a plan B potentially, or give them a different idea of how they can achieve what their goal is. So, look, I think it's going to be very much, I don't want to say a watch and see. My understanding from speaking with colleagues from the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission is that people's right to take a risk will be respected, and supported if it's done so in the correct manner. And the correct manner means making sure that we've done everything we can as providers to put in place mechanisms to reduce or mitigate the risk as much as possible.
And again, there's another right which talks about the right to take risks and the dignity of risk. It is a dignity of risk is something that is emerging, I suppose, as an idea and a concept that's been there, but us understanding it as people working in the sector, it's something we've always said as, I suppose, our advocates have been saying people have the right to make choices, and some of those will have risks. But it's about, like you said, the communication and have you understood the payoffs that might happen if you take this decision, that you may not be able to do this. And then the person's still saying, yep, I understand that, and that's what I want.
Yeah, you know, I always use the example of the person perhaps who's got some cognitive impairment, but they've walked every day of their lives. So they've had enough. I'm talking about my mother. They've had enough. She doesn't have dementia, but she walks every day.
She walks every day.
You know, and it will be really important to her, should she get in care, that she is still encouraged, empowered, and enabled to walk every day. Now, whether that means, you know, a GPS watch, or you know, something like that, I don't know at this stage because it hasn't happened yet. But we need to be making sure that we have got ways of mitigating risk.
Yes.
You know, it could be engaging the local community. You know.
Yeah.
Volunteer walkers.
Absolutely.
You know. So anyway, we digress from the topic.
Okay, just one more Q&A. So Karen was requesting whether this is being recorded. Absolutely, Karen. So this is here for perpetuity. It's for educational purposes. And you'll find that on the OPAN website link.
So I should say also that the webinars that we're doing today, these are kind of industry briefings that we wanted to actually let people know about what was coming, what the sort of the resources are, because we know it's a busy time and we wanted, I suppose, to have resources there for people to be able to work from 1 July, but to be able to work further on from then as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's important that people understand you're not going to get everything today, but we are going to do some workforce ones, aren't you, Marie? You're doing a workforce webinar. What's going to be in that?
So the workforce webinar is coming up next week. There's a couple. So it's a similar process, and we sit down and discuss how to unpackage, I guess, the charter, how to sit down and have the conversation. We're going to do a role play, so it's quite practical, hands-on in regards to, I guess, talking about rights and how to have that conversation and signing if need be.
Like you said, the staff, it's important the staff understand.
And I guess on that, it would be really lovely to know what the workers would like.
Yeah, look, absolutely. I'm getting calls on a daily basis in my current role, wanting someone from LASA like myself or someone else to go out and actually have a conversation with the staff. So that's something that LASA is starting to do.
Right.
Next week I'm going out to a service, having a conversation with the board and all the care recipients and whatever staff would like to come to learn how to unpack the charter, how to teach, how to explain it.
Great. Maybe I should come.
What the intent of the words are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that, intent is really important.
Yes. Absolutely. Good. All right, so there is a timeline for implementing the new charter. Craig, can you tell us what are the dates, and can you stipulate how is this significant to, I guess, the provider and the consumer?
Sure. So the charter is the charter from 1 July. So there is a new charter, and even though you might have a charter, the old ones or one of the 4 that were there, this new charter takes effect from 1 July. It's really important to understand that. So anyone new coming into aged care, whatever type of aged care that is, in the home or in residential or the other types of care that's provided, from 1 July you need to explain this new charter and these rights to the person.
Yeah, and they need to have an opportunity, as we've said earlier, they need to have an opportunity to sign that. So then in residential care, are you happy for me to pick up now?
Yeah.
So,
You're the resi expert.
Oh, that's a dreadful word, expert, isn't it? So in residential aged care, the expectation will be for all, as Craig's just said, all current care recipients sitting in their contract will be the current Charter of Aged Care Rights and Responsibilities. So all current care recipients do have to be given the new Charter of Rights signed by a representative of the approved provider by the 30th of September. So that's for all existing residents up to the 1st of July. In home care, it's by the 31st of December 2019 for all existing clients. So all new across every setting on the 1st of July, and then the 30th of September for residential care and the 31st of December for home care.
So I suppose that's the tail end of that. So start the conversation early would be my message. That you may do this over a couple of sittings with someone as you take them through. I can imagine that someone from home care could be going in and showing them the explainer video that's going to be coming up as a sort of example of where we're going, and taking them through that, and then coming back after they've sort of done some of the support for them and saying, oh, what did you think of those? Any ones you didn't understand? What do you think? I mean, you work in home care. What do you think? How would you do this in home care?
Yeah, and I think that's what's actually happening at the moment. A particular organisation I'm working with, they're stepping up and already getting into it and pre-planning what they can do now, like actively start.
Yeah, don't wait till September or December.
No,
to do
don't
this.
wait.
Yeah.
Start it now, and that's the processes they're doing, which is working really well in that they're opening up those conversations with the clients, and the clients are going, oh wow, and they're also becoming aware of the changes too. So it's a really good move.
Yeah. And in residential care, you know, don't be frightened to run sessions, education sessions for your residents.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, give them the opportunity to discuss it amongst themselves. You know, and talk about what it means to them. And if your staff are present too, they will have then an understanding of what the care recipient is wanting.
We were talking to some older people receiving aged care, and we were saying this new charter comes in, and they went, "But didn't I have these rights anyway? Wasn't it? Yeah.
That's right.
Wasn't this always there?" And it was like, well, yeah, it was, but this is about understanding.
Yeah, clarifying it. Beautiful. In fact, sorry, I have one other here from Ray. Who should sign the residential aged care agreement? The enduring guardian or power of attorney?
Well, it's really important to remember that power of attorney does not take effect until we've got lack of capacity.
Yeah.
And as I said before, if you can't, just because you can't sign a mortgage document doesn't mean that you can't understand, you know, some simple sentences and have some input into that. So I would be making sure first and foremost that you have that conversation with the care recipient, you know, and whoever they want with them as an advocate, to sit by them and understand that.
My understanding there is a slot there for the authorised representative to sign as well. But I would hope that you would do that collaboratively with the person, again, back to supported decision making.
Yeah.
You're doing this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Support the person.
That conversation is so pivotal, isn't it? And ongoing conversation. And I think each time you probably will find something new and unique to that particular individual. So, you know, you're filling in that holistic picture. It's gorgeous. We at OPAN have developed a video, Craig. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so this is explainer video, and it's always hard to get everything into a video with, I suppose, the idea of having the rights explained, and there's 14 of them, so there's a lot there to have. So we've done it in a way that's to try and be a bit of a teaser to start the conversation. And so while there's the video and that we talk about the rights and what the process is, again, we'd say that you can use this in steps. You can use this. We're going to show you that video really soon. And it's you're sort of first to see this today. It's still in its pre-production phase, so there's a little bit of a couple of things to do with it, including the voiceover. So the voiceover will be done by Julie McCrossan, and she's lending her time to us, which is fantastic, really nice and engaging. So So shall we play it? Yeah.
Excellent.
From the 1st of July 2019, the Australian Government is introducing a new and simpler Charter of Aged Care Rights for anyone receiving aged care services. As a person receiving aged care, you have the same legal rights as all Australians. The Charter of Aged Care Rights adds to these and are designed to help you by putting the focus on you, giving you choice, and making sure you are treated with respect. This video aims to help you understand these rights and how you can exercise them. We'll go through them briefly now. However, you'll also receive a copy on paper, and you can always ask for more information afterwards. Let's check them out. You have the right to safe and high quality care and services. You have the right to be treated with dignity and respect. You have the right to have your identity, culture, and diversity valued and supported. And you have the right to live without abuse and neglect. You have the right to be informed about your care and services in a way you understand. And you have the right to access information about yourself, including information about your rights, care and services. You have the right to have control over and make choices about your care, personal and social life, including where choices involve personal risk. And you have the right to have control over and to make decisions about the personal aspects of your daily life, your financial affairs, and your possessions. You have the right to your independence. You have the right to be listened to and understood. You have the right to have a person of your choice, including an aged care advocate, support you or speak on your behalf. You have the right to complain free from reprisal and to have your complaints dealt with fairly and promptly. You have the right to personal privacy and to have your personal information protected. And finally, you have the right to exercise your rights without it adversely affecting the way you are treated. So, what's next? While you have these rights, you must respect the rights of others in the aged care community too. Everyone should feel safe and respected. And you may need to consider any existing care agreements previously made with your provider. Shortly, your provider will give you a copy of the Charter of Aged Care Rights. All Australian government-funded aged care providers have an obligation to explain these rights to you in a way that you understand. We recommend sharing the Charter with your family, friends, or anyone helping with your care. This can be a great opportunity for you to discuss what's important to you. Discussing your rights and needs better enables those around you to help deliver the best care possible. Your provider will already have signed the Charter, showing you that they understand your rights. If you're comfortable doing so, we recommend you sign the Charter too. By signing, you're showing to your provider that you also understand and recognise your rights. If you're not comfortable signing, or you have concerns about your rights not being upheld, talk to your aged care provider, family, friend or carer. Don't worry, your services will not be affected if you choose not to sign the Charter. If you prefer to talk to an independent representative, contact OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, on 1800 700 600 or visit their website at opan.com.au. Alternatively, you can ask for more information, give feedback or raise a complaint about your services with the Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission by calling 1800 951 822 or by visiting agedcarequality.gov.au. The Charter of Aged Care Rights, proudly shared by OPAN, the Older Persons Advocacy Network, and quality aged care providers across Australia.
Fantastic video, don't you think? It's really explains,
Absolutely.
in a nice, simple manner, and I love those characters. They're really coming alive.
Yep.
Now, just a few more Q&A, and I have to say thank you, everyone, for your Q&A. Keep it up. We've got time to answer a few. Now, Marianne, you ask, with all respect here in residential aged care facility land, we have been including residents and their relatives in their desired and informed care delivery for many years. I would like to know the anticipated change this would produce. I might go to you, Maria, as a consumer representative.
Yeah. And thanks, Marianne, for the question. It is actually a really good question. Marianne, from my experience of both working in the industry as a professional, but also being on the other side as a daughter and a carer, I think it's really important, as in the past, look, we've received a brochure about our rights, and I think now we're progressing to a more educated and understanding of what our rights are, and it's going to be about empowering yourself as a carer or a daughter or whatever to your parents. And I think this is a really good turning point. It's going to open up the education, the conversations and so forth. We've all heard it, we have all heard about our Charter of Rights, okay, but this is sort of making it more up there and more empowering than it ever has been before. So thank you for bringing that question to light, because I think it's really important. And it is about enabling and providing the education and the opportunity. It is about people's rights. And I think we're at a turning point that we're wanting to deliver that message. So thank you. I hope that helps you.
Actually, Maria, I will add to that in the fact that providers across the country do it differently at the moment. You know, some people really embrace, obviously like you do, Marianne, some people really embrace the Charter of Rights and that consumer at the centre of care, etc. But other providers, like has been Maria's experience, got a brochure. So this way, where everybody has to sign it and or has to be given a signed copy, really does tell us as a sector that we are giving everybody that information, not just some providers are giving the information.
Well said.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
well said. Yep.
Good. Another one from Matt. Matt says, must we use the government template, or can you incorporate the Charter into existing rights and responsibilities document?
That's an interesting one.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. So, I would want to know what the intention is, I suppose, of including it in before and trying to build in back the responsibilities. I think historically we've used the responsibilities, unfortunately, what I've heard is that it's used to be a bit of a, you can't do this. This is about, though, having this front and centre. And someone asked me the other day, can we just put this in the contract like we do before? Yeah, sure, you can put it there as an addendum to the contract and that sort of thing. But you also have to have this front and centre. The person needs their own copy. They need to have this right. And then tying the responsibilities into it and trying to add those in the bottom or write them down the bottom of your own. So while you can do other documents and supporting material and those sorts of things to help, just writing it back in kind of loses the intention of it, which is about this is saying, yes, we know you've got responsibilities, everyone does, but this is about your protection, your document.
Yeah. And, you know, this might be a good time to address the elephant in the room, which is the responsibilities.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know if I again put my provider hat on, you know, often I would use those responsibilities and refer to them as part of the contract, you know, particularly when, on occasions, perhaps if family members aren't all on the same page, or perhaps not treating your staff in the way that you would like your staff to be treated. And as we know, that's actually now been removed from the Charter of Rights and Responsibilities. So I think it's really important as providers, be it home care or residential care or flexi care, that you actually have perhaps a code of conduct. You know, Craig and I were discussing earlier, and Maria, that you know, as humans, we all have responsibilities to contribute to life. And be respectful. And be respectful.
Of each other.
And, you know, but then we also sometimes have trouble expressing that in a way that's pleasing to everybody. And perhaps, you know, we might be upset or angry if something's happened to our mum or our dad who are receiving care, that we're not happy with that, with the way their care's been delivered, and out of, you know, guilt or frustration or, you know, whatever sort of emotion goes along with that, sometimes we don't behave in the appropriate manner. So I think, you know, therefore it's really appropriate that we still do have a code of conduct that somebody's, and I would have it signed, I would have it as part of the residential agreement, so that when something is not right, and this comes back to what I was talking about earlier, making sure that whoever signs the contract or the residential agreement or the home care agreement actually knows what's in the content. So that when something's not going according to plan, you can actually go back to the care recipient or their family or whoever's advocating for them and say, well, hang on a minute, you know, whilst we acknowledge that you've got these rights, you've also agreed to behave in accordance with our expectations, you know.
But wouldn't you'd want someone to actually say, but why are you upset, or why is this behind, but rather than having to go straight to the, but here's the responsibility.
You want to actually have a conversation.
Yeah. Good opportunity to understand. Like, we talk about customer service a lot, and this is a great way to actually go, well, what does the customer, in commas, the older person and their family, what do What do they want? What's going on for them?
Yeah. You know, I think someone said to me the other day, you know, we never know what's going on in someone's personal life, and you know what could be triggering a certain reaction or a certain you know, behaviour or something that's causing concern, and you know, and it is important that we find out, you know, that we actually take the time to say, well, you know, what is wrong? Well, how can I help you? You know, let's work through this together, because at the end of the day, it's a partnership.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's emotional intelligence, isn't it? It's being
Yes.
self-aware and all those underpinning values.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I think we managed to answer that one perfectly. There are a few others here. John, if a resident refuses to sign, can we just document this on the charter and file it?
I'm going to take that one quickly.
Yes.
So we have had some discussions. What if someone doesn't want to sign it? That's actually right. The obligation is on the provider
Yes.
to do the explanation and to document that they have explained it. Don't do it in a tokenistic way, though. I think that's the important thing. And if the Quality and Safety Commission were going to come in, they'd want to see evidence that you've made the attempt. But if someone says, no, I don't want to actually sign this, that's their right. They're able to do that. They don't have to. But I'd, again, ask, why? Have you got concerns? Is there a reason why you don't? Some people thinking that they're signing up to a new contract or something additional, and I think it's important to explain to people, this is not you signing a new contract.
Okay, beautiful. Just one more. Robert, does the signing have to happen in person, or can I send it to them in the mail?
Well, it's for the consumer. It's for the person who's actually receiving care. So, I mean, is this someone in home care?
I don't have any
perhaps?
more details, sorry.
you know, I'm
Robert, I'm
it's come up
assuming
quite a
they're
bit in the
Yeah.
discussions around home
in
care.
home.
You know, perhaps that's a question that I could take on notice and go back to the department and actually find out what that answer is, because I know that some providers of home care actually, you know, deliver a remote service.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
in which case getting out there to the person may not be practicable.
Yeah, I think at some point there needs to be a conversation. So even though you might mail it out to them first with your signature, how are you going to sit down and explain them? Are you going to take them through the explainer video? Are you going to empower your staff and train your staff to be able to do that part of the process? There's many ways that can be done, and I suppose there's the opportunity for people to be thinking a bit innovatively about that. I think the key to it is making sure the person has had it explained and understands.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes up in home care is often, you know, consumers are receiving services from different providers. So that's another question that we'll be answering.
Yep.
Yes.
We'll
Yeah,
get back to you on
multiple
that. We'll put also
providers,
onto the OPAN website some of these
Yes.
questions that are coming up.
Okay. And the last one I'll do for today is a nice segue, Teresa, thank you. Where can you get training to have the confidence in explaining the charter to the care recipients? Well, hopefully, Teresa, in our webinars for the workforce next week, we will start to look at how to actually have that conversation and unpack each of the rights. Sorry, I lost my mic. Each of the rights and looking at the actual charter form itself and going through it with consumer and representatives. And on that, so OPAN are putting together, Teresa, packages to make it easier for consumers and providers to discuss the charter. And anything you would like to add there, Craig, in regards to some of the resources?
Yeah, so I suppose our dates of resources that are coming up,
So,
and the community events are going to be really important, because help older people and their families to understand this. So we're going around the country, Marie is, and a number of other of our advocates. So we're partnering with the service delivery organisations who are our members in each state and territory to actually have an event, at least in each capital city, to actually unpack that. Some of these will be videoed as well, so they'll be there for other people to watch as well. So there's the community events, there's the webinar for workforce, and there's also one for consumers.
Yeah. So I'll give you those dates just quickly. So the interactive webinar for workforce, Monday and Tuesday, 27th and 28th, coming up next week. And they're online again through Eventbrite. And then there's one on Wednesday, the 19th of June. The consumer focused, and I really recommend that if you know anyone that's going to be looking at aged care, that they come to the consumer focused webinar. That's Tuesday the 28th of May. The community events, so Melbourne will be 11 June, Ballarat 12, Albury 13th, and I do apologise, Canberra 14th, Bankstown 18th, Darwin 21st, Brisbane 24th, Adelaide 25th, Gold Coast 27th, finally Perth 27th of June. So they're all June. Get on to Eventbrite, Understanding the New Charter of Aged Care Rights. Again, all of this information is available for you at www.opan.com.au, or please feel free to contact our 1800 700 600 number for assistance. And I think that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to say thank you to everyone today for joining in, particularly for LASA, who
Yeah.
have really got behind and championed this and have been championing the rights, which I think
Thanks, Craig.
as a peak, it's really exciting that you're so committed to this as well. Thank you, Maria, for coming in and sharing your experiences as well. And thank you to our advocacy organisations. The documents, the materials that's been built with, particularly with Seniors Rights Service in New South Wales, and the expertise of Marg Brothers and Pat Joyce as our senior advocates there.
Yeah.
So really thank them for everything that they've put into this. So
Absolutely.
I'm really thankful for everything that we've been able to get to,
Yeah.
to get to today. So
Absolutely. I'd
Thanks,
like to
team.
do a real quick thank you to our amazing IT helpers out there as well, because it was great to have that Q&A and that interaction. All right. And thank you very much. We'll catch you again. Take
Thank
care.
you.